Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to talk about this topic that I think is a really important one to be discussing right now: alternative ways to spend your summer productively besides an internship or another plan A that you might have had in mind. So maybe you've had difficulties finding a summer opportunity, or maybe you got a late start, or you're still in the process of figuring out your plans. Maybe you've even had a summer offer revoked or suspended because of the COVID-19 situation. That's unfortunately happening for a lot of students, not just at Lehigh, but across the country right now too. And although those are all really tough places to be in, the good news is that one, it's probably not personal. This is an unprecedented time that we're living in, and any challenges or changes in plans are probably due to the pandemic rather than your qualifications or your efforts personally. And two, you're not alone. So, like I said, there are so many students in a similar position at Lehigh and all across the US and the world too. And the Career Center is here to help you get through this as well. We'll be here for you throughout the summer too. And then three, there are great alternative ways that you can spend your summer besides an internship or other plan A that will build up your resume and develop your skills, and that can turn out to be extremely meaningful in getting you ahead in your future. So let's talk about what some of those options are. Okay, so one fantastic way that you can spend your summer is by developing new skills. So these can be more technical skills like learning different programming languages or data analysis skills, those types of things. Or they can be more quote unquote soft skills, which I don't really like that term because I think it implies that they're kind of less important, which definitely isn't the case, because those skills like written communication, public speaking, teamwork, they're all extremely critical qualities that employers across really all industries are looking for. So it would be a great idea to use this summer to develop those more soft transferable skills as well as your technical skills, and to help kind of guide you in figuring out, well, which skills might be good ones for me to hone in on. I wanted to share the top 8 skill sets that you'll need to succeed in a post-coronavirus world, according to a publication by the Future of Work. So the first skill you'll see here is adaptability and flexibility. So the world is changing rapidly. You need to continually evolve and adapt in order to keep up. The second skill is tech savviness. So because companies need to be resilient in the face of this current disruption, as well as potential future disruptions, that tech savviness is absolutely necessary. And then data literacy and digital coding skills are essential ones too, for similar reasons. Creativity and innovation, critical thinking, leadership are also going to become increasingly important, because companies, they need innovative thinkers, they need sound decision makers and leaders with vision in order to continue to thrive today and into the future. And then the last skill set they identified, which I personally found pretty interesting, is emotional intelligence. So being able to be aware of our emotions and to intelligently express those emotions, as well as be able to understand and relate to others' emotional experiences. It's all really critical to, especially in a post-coronavirus world. So those are the top 8 according to the Future of Work. There's certainly skills beyond that that are important too, especially when you get down to more industry-specific kinds of skills, but hopefully that gives you a starting point. Okay, so we talked about why developing skills is a good alternative way to maximize your summer. We talked about what skills you might want to consider developing. And so now let's talk about how you can actually go about developing these skills. So first, there are a ton of great online courses that you can take from the comfort of your own home, many of which are free of charge. So there's sites like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, edX, Udemy, and Free Code Camp. And these sites have thousands of online courses that cover a ton of different skill areas. And some of their courses do come from like Ivy League schools and top companies, Google, IBM, etc. So you definitely want to look through and do your research, but usually the content is pretty high quality. And with some of these courses as well, you can receive or pay to receive a certificate or a digital badge of some sort that certifies you're proficient in that particular skill area, which is something tangible that you can put on your resume. So there's some really great learning, skill building opportunities out there. Really encourage you to check these sites out. And then you can also read articles, journals, books, listen to podcasts, watch videos related to your industry of interest. There's so much amazing content out there, and I really believe that in today's world, it's possible to teach yourself almost anything if you have the motivation and you have the right resources. So take advantage of those opportunities, develop your skills. It's a great resume builder, and it will prepare you for your future careers.
I also want you to think about remote opportunities and want to get you started with how you can explore those. So begin by self-reflection, clarifying your goals. Ask yourself key questions. What do you need right now? You want to prioritize. Where are you at? How is this going to fit into your long-term career plans? Then you can go directly to Handshake to search for positions by using the word remote. You can also access on the Career Resource Library in Handshake a number of job search boards. So we have a listing of popular job search boards in the job and internship tile, where you can use those and search remote in the location. There's also specialized remote job search boards that you can identify positions that may fit with what you're looking for. So you want to consider what is going to be the best for you at this time. And when you're thinking about positions, you do want to do your research and investigate the positions carefully. So when you are considering full-time and part-time positions that are remote, you want to check if the positions are temporarily remote or if they are permanent positions that are remote, especially if you're not willing to relocate, that is a consideration. Another option to consider are internships. So there are paid internships and unpaid internships. So you want to consider what is going to be the best fit for you. And we had talked earlier about prioritizing your needs. So if gaining experience in a particular industry is the most important, then you could expand your search and include both paid and unpaid options. If you are focused on right now being a paid position would be the most important for you, then focus on that and consider what opportunities you can explore in that area. And also, as you're considering different positions, focusing in on the skills and what you have to offer and how you can use your skills even across different industries. So there are industries that are hiring, and it's good to be flexible and adaptable as you're navigating through this situation with positions. So considering industries that maybe you hadn't considered previously, but expanding your search and really being adaptable. So when you're even searching in Handshake, for example, you could try searching by job function and not just by industry, and expand your options that you're considering. You could also consider micro internships and externships as a way to continue to build skills as well as professional connections. So micro internships give you the opportunity to work on professional projects. They are short term. One of the options that you could look into is through Parker Dewey, which is linked on the Career Resource Handshake resources. And Parker Dewey will connect you to professional short-term projects. They can range in time from about 5 hours to 40 hours per week. They can even last throughout a year. They are paid positions that the company will set the rate, but it can range anywhere from $200 to $600. And there's a variety of projects and companies that you can select from. So including Fortune 500 companies and startup companies. Paragon 1 is an example of externships. So externships are another great way to build experience and connections in a short-term opportunity. So through Paragon 1, you can pursue externships that are going to give you the opportunity to receive some mentoring. So the positions run for it's an 8-week process, 2 weeks of training, and then followed by 6 weeks working on a project. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get some training and develop your skills at the same time. You can also explore that through the links that are provided in our Handshake resources. And another option to consider is volunteering. So there's a lot of opportunities to volunteer remotely, and there's links for that as well. And considering that volunteering can also build a lot of the same types of skills that you would be building in an employment situation. And you can utilize those in your resume and when you're articulating those skills and the value that you bring. And you can also serve your community and make an impact in an area that you're very passionate about. So it's another thing to consider. And then the last point I wanted to make is, as you're considering what positions are going to be the best for you, is to really tailor your job search materials to the job posting. So consider, what are you applying for? Read the job posting carefully and highlight your relevant skills and experience in both your resume and your cover letter so that you can stand out as a candidate. It's also important in your cover letter to really express your interest in the position and interest in the company, which is why it's so important to do your research to make sure that these opportunities that you're looking into are really going to be a good fit for you, and you can articulate that to an employer as well.
Okay, so in addition to developing skills, we talked about finding remote work opportunities. Then a third great alternative way to spend your summer is to create an independent project. Because in today's world, you don't really need an employer or a supervisor or even a physical office to create something. It's possible to do a whole lot on your own if you get creative and you're driven. So some ideas for independent projects: you can develop a website, a blog, or a digital portfolio of some sort where you showcase your work and you tell your story. And these can be great self-marketing tools, great for building up your professional online brand, for sharing some tangible examples and tangible evidence of your work. And employers love them too. So creating something like this, an excellent use of your summer that could really give you a competitive edge for future opportunities. You might also be able to find summer research opportunities by contacting your professors. So that's another alternative strategy that's a little outside of this topic area that we're on right now. But even if it doesn't pan out, you can potentially create your own independent study and research a topic area on your own that interests you. So if you do this, I would still recommend that you reach out to your faculty or industry professionals to ask if they'd be willing to mentor you and guide you through the process. And it would be also worth checking with your academic department to see if you can receive academic credit for what you do, because I know that's a possibility for some Lehigh students as well. And on that topic too, the Career Center, in partnership with the Creative Inquiry Office, would like to help students develop these kinds of independent studies. So if that's something you'd be interested in, you can copy the URL that you see on the screen to complete a quick survey so that we can assess your interests and see what kind of independent study we can support you in. Then otherwise, with independent projects, the sky is really the limit. So maybe you can build your own app, or maybe you can organize a virtual community event. Maybe you can even start a small business. So there's a lot of possibilities. Think about what skills you have, what you're passionate about, and then how you can apply those skills and those passions to fill a gap or to solve a problem. So an independent project can be extremely impressive, extremely meaningful experience. So another great possibility to consider for this summer.
So let's talk about networking. So networking is important whatever stage you're at. It's important just to develop professionally, continue to advance in your career development plan. So really want you to think about how can you be intentional with your efforts, and really think about what your strategy is when you're networking. So that starts with thinking about your goals so that you can invest your time wisely. So if you want to learn more about a particular role or a particular company, that would be how you would go about finding your connections. You want to think about Also, what are the best ways to reach out? And again, being flexible and adaptable is going to serve you well. So thinking about, would it be best to reach out through email, or you could find them on social media. You can reach out on LinkedIn, which we're going to talk more about. There's a lot of different opportunities that you can connect online with individuals. We also want you to think about the connections that you have and to start with those individuals that you already know. So when you think about your friends, your neighbors, your peers, there's a lot of individuals that they are connected to that might be of great value to you. So thinking about, maybe someone can make a virtual introduction for you, and maybe you can make a virtual introduction for someone else. Because part of networking is really about mutually beneficial relationships. So keeping that in mind and approaching it with a learning perspective as you're going forward is really going to be helpful in building relationships. Another way that you can continue to build relationships is by conducting informational interviews. So basically that is finding connections that you think you'd like to learn more from, and you could ask them some questions. So it might be a 20-minute phone call or 20-minute Zoom meeting, and you're just going to find out about their role, ask them questions about what tips they have, advice that they would give you. It can be extremely significant in terms of giving you important information about your industry. It can give you tips and strategies that you can employ, and it also is helping to build those connections. I want you to continue to expand your network and continue to learn and grow as you're going forward. And often informational interviews can lead to opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have accessed. We refer to it sometimes as a hidden job market. So it can also lead to open doors and opportunities. So even though you're not approaching the informational interview as a way to ask for a job or ask for a position, in the course of getting to know someone and having a conversation, it may lead to opportunities that you weren't even aware of before. Another thing to consider as you are networking is to consider your online presence. So we want you to really be professional in all of your social media accounts and all of your communication. You are your brand. So the image that you put forth is going to be very important. And we want you to be able to set up and update your online profiles. And that's something also we can help you with here in the Career Center. So starting with a platform like Lehigh Connects, which is just for the Lehigh community, we have a large number of Lehigh alum on there and growing daily, and we want you to be able to connect to them, ask them questions, use the filters, and you can send them a message and you can get the conversation going. There's also LinkedIn, which has a large number, close to about 60,000 alum who are on that platform. So you can filter those results and you can search by certain employers, or you want to search by a certain keyword. So we do encourage you to get your LinkedIn profile to be complete, to do it to the best of your ability, to reach out to the Career Center and use the resources on Handshake. And then on LinkedIn, there's a lot of different opportunities where you can stay engaged. So in addition to using the alumni tool to connect with individuals, you can also post on LinkedIn, you can comment, you can also even create your own content that you could share. You can provide media links and representations of your work within your profile. And another great way on LinkedIn to get connected to other professionals is by joining groups. So looking for groups maybe related to your professional associations is an excellent way to continue to grow your network and get the conversation going. Also would recommend that you check out professional associations, because right now a lot of them are doing different events and offering different resources and webinars. It's a great way for you to learn more about your industry and connect with other professionals. You can check for those right through on the career resource page. We do have a link on the graduate student tile where you can help to find a professional association. We would encourage you also to check out the events that are listed in Handshake, because there's a lot of opportunities to connect virtually with employers and to get to know more about the companies that are partnered with Lehigh. Also, want you to consider for ways that you can continue to acknowledge and support others. During these unprecedented times, in addition to being flexible, we also want you to take opportunities to offer resources and tips, maybe share resources that you're aware of or recommendations of things that have been helpful to you. and compliment others and give encouragement and show gratitude. This would be a great time to reach out to individuals who've helped you. Always following up with a thank you for anyone who's been taking the time to meet with you or has influenced you in a positive manner is really going to be significant.
Okay, so we covered some great alternative ways you can maximize your summer professionally. And these are all amazing ways that you can spend your time. We really hope that you'll pursue one or even many of those options. But in the midst of all of that, I want you to also remember to take care of yourself and to be kind to yourself and give yourself a break once in a while. Because the standards that employers have for students in a typical summer do not apply here, because we are living through a pandemic, an unprecedented situation. So it's okay if your summer maybe doesn't work out in the most ideal way. If you try your best and you try out a couple of these alternative options, chances are things will work out well for you. And by giving yourself that break and building up healthy habits, you might actually end up being more productive than if all you did was work hard. So created these charts here on the screen to show you what I mean by that. So people think, like you see on the left-hand side of the screen, that the best way to accomplish things is to work hard all the time. But what research shows us is that that actually makes us more productive when we carve out time for other things and find balance, like you see on the chart on the right-hand side. So I think it's particularly important now with the current circumstances that are extremely stressful. Even if you're not maybe on the front lines, your family, friends aren't on the front lines, this situation is still greatly impacting all of us in different ways, and bringing, I think, increased anxiety and tension to our lives. Anxiety tends to be a pretty contagious emotion that we feel, and it's really easy to feed off of other people with that. And you really need to make a conscious effort to combat it and to take care of yourself and to build up healthy habits. So some ideas to do that we'll talk about on the next slide. So first, we would recommend that you take breaks from social media. It can be overwhelming, it can be stressful, it's definitely not always accurate, and while you do definitely want to stay informed, you also want to try your best not to spend too much time or become too fixated on what you're seeing in the news for your mental health. It's also important that you find ways to stay in touch with other people and to connect with others. We're social beings, and we really need that connectedness in order to be well. And then all of us also need time to ourselves to unwind. So do some activities you enjoy, spend some time on hobbies, read for pleasure, watch fun TV shows, do things that work for you and that re-energize you. And be sure that you're taking care of your body as well, because our minds and our bodies are connected, and we need to be taking care of our physical being in order to function at our best mentally, and vice versa. So exercise, eat well. You'll also want to get outside and spend time in nature. It gives us, I think, a good perspective, and there's a lot of health benefits. And then lastly, try to stay focused on the future and optimistic about the future. So remind yourself that this is an unprecedented point in history, and although it will in some ways change the world forever, there will come a time when we don't have to be so scared anymore, and when we can return to the things that we enjoy out in the world, hopefully with a fresh appreciation for everything that we have, rather than taking it for granted. So we want to acknowledge that while your professional development is so important, you also need to focus on your personal development in order to be happy and to function at your best in all areas of your life.
Another important piece as you're pursuing your plans for the summer is we want you to be able to articulate what you've done and to be able to show the value that added. So some of the ways you can do that is, one is keep track of the connections that you make, ask for recommendations where appropriate, and also to track some of the projects and some of the skills that you've developed. So here is just one example. Certainly every individual may have different variables, different circumstances. So this is one way of many that you could display some of your experience. So in this example, we are highlighting the fact that a student's plans did change. They had plans for a summer internship, but it changed into an independent study and projects that they had engaged in over the summer. And so that was highlighted by having different categories. So specialized training provided some information about the online classes and the skills developed, as well as highlighting a project that was done by creating their own blog. And that was also a way that they independently learned a significant level of skills. And as you can see, as wherever possible to try to quantify your accomplishments. So in this example, when we mentioned the blog, highlighting that there was over 200 followers, that was giving some idea so that you can put that into perspective. Also highlighting any research that you've done, project experience. So this is one example, although you're gonna work on your own example depending on what your circumstances are. Here in the Career Center, we want to support you. So there's a lot of resources that we mentioned, all of which are located in Handshake that you can access. We also have the Hire Lehigh blog. We have a YouTube channel. We'd love for you to check out more of what's on there, and certainly you have access to coaching appointments. We would love to be able to support you. Thank you so much for taking time to learn more about some things that you can do to continue to develop professionally.
Thanks for tuning in.